We'll go ahead and get started today. Let's do the roll call first, please, Joan.
Chris Mortensen,
Here.
Charles Long. Here. Michael Shaw,
Here.
Priscilla Benali, Kevin Mitchell.
Here. All right, and will please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico, the Zia symbol of perfect friendship among united culture.
Thank you very much. I appreciate all of you being here. Merry Christmas. I hope everything goes well for you and your families. First item of business here is the approval of today's agenda. Is there a motion, please?
A motion.
Okay, and a second? Second by Mr. Schaaf. Roll call, please, Joan.
Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
Mr. Shaw,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Mortensen.
Yes. Next item is approval of the minutes from our last meeting. Is there a motion, please?
Motion to approve minutes of November 27th, 2023.
All right. Second by Mr. Long. Roll call, please.
Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
Mr. Shaw,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Mortensen.
Abstain. Next item is approval of the consent agenda. Items A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, and J. Any questions on any of those items? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve consent agenda items 4A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, and J.
Perfect. That's I and J, not in. All right, second.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
Mr. Shaw,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Mortensen.
Yes. All right, next item down, we're cooking along, is study circle. Do we have any public comment, Mr. Hyatt?
We do not.
No public comment today, unfortunately. So the next item is superintendent report. And for that, I'll turn the time over to Mr. Hyatt.
President Mortensen, members of the board, we have a couple presentations today, but before we start the first one, I wanted to just take a moment and thank the Eastern Navajo Agency. They had invited me along with Mr. Long to visit their meeting about a week or so ago, a little over a week ago, week and a half ago.
December 2nd.
December 2nd, a few weeks ago. And we didn't know what it was about, but when we got there, President Johnny Johnson invited us up and in front of the Eastern Navajo Agency thanked us and wanted to show their appreciation for us working with our partners and helping them use facilities and things. As a nonprofit and as a partner of ours, we try to help where we can to provide space for them wherever they need it to hold their meetings and as often as possible. And so I just wanted to extend that appreciation from the Eastern Navajo Agency to you as a school board also, and to let you know that took place. And so thank you for your support of them, and it's been great to work with them. They've been very supportive of our school district and our students. So I also wanted to start by letting you know there's the two items today that we'll be doing a presentation on. The first one is our data dashboard, and we've talked about a little bit more about how to have on time, just in time, what they call it in business world, just in time inventory, but just in time data. And so we have been working with a partner of ours to create a data dashboard so that the school district and schools can have instant access or more readily available data that's up to date to make decisions in their schools and us to make decisions as a district. And so I'm going to turn the time over to Mr. Bell, and he's going to give you a little presentation on what we've been cooking up to help with that.
Thank you, Mr. Hyatt. Mr. President of the board, members of the board, it is my pleasure to show us our first rendition of the data dashboard that we've been building up. It started at the ELT level with Mr. Hyatt. We talked about what the first phase would be, which this is the end of the first phase, is what you're going to see today. We have two more phases that we're going to be talking with this company about as we roll out what's next. Just to let you know, this is not a complete product. It is a work in progress until we get everything we want onto this dashboard. So first of all, why did we have a student dashboard? If you've ever seen our student information system Synergy, there's a ton of information in it, more than I can handle myself. You have to do lots of queries and everything in there to put them in Excel sheets and play with the data. Some of our administrators don't have that ability or that to be able to do that. So this system sort of takes the place of that. It disaggregates the data for us. It's an easy place to see a visual disaggregation of the data to make in-the-moment decisions at both the district and the school levels. I'll be showing you my level, which I can see all the schools, and we'll be able to see also some of what the principals they only see at their level. Provides a comprehensive snapshot of information. So not everything is one day behind in the system. So what happens is at midnight, Ms. Clark's student information system sends a message to this system, which transports all the data. It's in a file, and it uploads it every night and sends it every night to the. So we have 1 day lag on this data, and it tracks performance into basically in relation to key performance indicators that we have on our Elevate 2025 plan, which still everything goes back to what is our overall goal. It goes back to Elevate 2025. So there's attendance on it, and what we're going to be looking at when we go into attendance, it's 2 or more absences. So we're looking at not this week, but we're looking at a week previous. And we're looking at if a student misses more than 2 days in a week, that should be a red flag where we know we have to do something to get that student back in school. They also have another part where we show 6 or more absences per the semester, which is getting up there into where we need to take some action. The student grade book, it'll show you a distribution by grade, by school, how many students have A, B, C, Ds, and Fs, and it'll identify the student. I'm not going to be identifying students. I had to block all that just for protection since this is on being published. Weekly course grades, this is more for watching how our teachers are performing with our students. It looks back to the previous 2 weeks, and it tells us whether they have 2 grades entered into their grade book that week. If they do not have 2 grades entered into that grade book, that should be a flag that we need to intervene with that teacher, or our parents and our students don't have in-time information either about their student grades. Activity eligibility, I had a lot of help from Mr. McFarland and Mr. Chavis on this, and it just keeps an eye on students before they become ineligible. One of the things I learned through this process is they don't become ineligible until the semester now. When I was a student, it was by the quarter. Now it's by the semester. And so we have all the conditions in there that'll let us know before a kid gets to that point that we need to intervene. And then there are assessments. A lot of these assessments are going to be put in right now because we are just finishing our interim assessments for our middle of year. So those will be imported when we get back from winter break by our student information system. So those are not quite uploaded yet, but I have last year's in there just to show you what it looks like. So first of all, I'm going to show you the dashboard. This is live on our website. This is what it looks like. This summary tells me everything that's going on in the district. Right now, I know that I have 9,827 students in the school as of yesterday, or at the last day of school.
Friday.
It tells me the attendance for the last 2 days. We had Friday was 90.3% with 9.7% of the students absent. Thursday was 92.5%, which is 7.5% absent. Last year, this is one of the reasons we wanted this dashboard is because we could not tell what students, whether they were in school last year on Fridays or not with that, with the way we were doing things. I now know that we do not have such a drop this year on Fridays. We also have students with passing grades right now, district-wide, 59.4%, but you'll see some of the things in there is whether their grades have been entered yet. And you'll see that there is a lack right there. That's one of our worries. So I'm going to go back into the PowerPoint now because once I start clicking anywhere, I'll start getting into individual student data.
So that's, I want to stop you there. We're not going to click on it, but what he means is if I clicked on those categories, I could dive further down by school, teacher, student, to look at some of that data where it's occurring. So maybe a lot of the absences are happening in the 9th grade, or they may be in the 12th grade, and we could really go dive into the data to figure out where the red flags or the green flags are coming from.
And we don't have to wait for the student information person to give us that report. It's at our
Right.
hands.
It just streamlines it.
So this one would be an attendance report. And if you look, I've got all the schools in here. If you look at this top, these are called slicers. So if I wanted to narrow it down by a specific set of schools, I could narrow it down by a specific set of schools. It'll give me the data for that data set. I can also go down to the individual student and see how it's doing. So in our district, this is where the students' names are. It tells us right now, and kids with 2 or more absences in the current week, which is really last week, and then 6 or more absences in the quarter. All I have to do is click on that, and it'll put all the students that I'm worried about at the very top. So I can print out a report and have somebody call each one of these students to see what we need to do to get them back into school. And you can see it, once we hit that attendance one, we go back a little bit further. I can change the week to any week within the school year that I want to within this data sheet. The next is attendance, and I knocked it down a little bit. I have all the elementary schools in there right now. So if you look right here, it says multiple selections. I went from a little over 9,800 students to 4,784 students. I have all elementary students in here. If you look at that, right now, they're all hitting above 90% attendance every single day right now. Most of my elementary schools are still above 90% with their attendance rate. This was not the case last year, but I've been able to monitor it.
May I ask a quick question?
Yes, sir.
Is there, I mean, as a manager or a boss, like a principal or whatever, is there, I mean, what is the value of knowing like attendance by ethnicity or gender or anything like that?
If you can split it, I did notice if you split, sometimes you do have the female population or the male population with better attendance. You want to look at that and see why.
It's just like that. It's also just like that for all the categories. So it's just a standard one. So it may not be as applicable in some areas as it may be in other areas.
Makes sense.
But
It just allows for a different distribution or a collection of data.
it is something that we've seen in the past where we've been able to notice that teachers do treat certain students different. And that's one way to see. If a classroom has 0% boys proficient and 80% girls, we know there's something wrong with that individual teacher working with the male population. That's something that will come out in this data.
It confirms all of our suspicions that the girls are smarter.
No. I am changing the subject now. So this is by elementary school, and I'm going to go down into Catherine Mill. Oops. Down into, let me get back one. By school. Now we're going into the grade book. I apologize. So this is grade book, all schools. If you notice, we have 35,000 A's this semester, 3,000 A minuses, and it just lets you know 5,000 A pluses. This lets you know exactly the distribution of the district for the grades. If you go down, it tells you how many kids on the second level right here, how many kids are passing in each individual grade. What I'm seeing here, you'll see in a minute, is that grades haven't been put in to a week. And so that's why those lower grades are so low right now in passing. They should not be that low. If you go a little bit deeper, I'm right now in the student grade book. I'm at Catherine Miller with 334 students. And you can see the grade distribution at that school right now. Is that Catherine? No, I'm sorry, that's through high.
Through high school.
Through high, I'm sorry, I'm at the high school now. So that's through high. And if you look on the side, if that green bar goes down so far, that's one student. I can tell you what he's doing in ELA, in his elective class, his social studies class, and then you go down to the next student, and it starts with the yellow one. That's another student in their government class and their English 102 class. So it just lists the students. I can also type the student's name in and get that individual student if I wanted, or click on that student. I clicked on one student. If you notice right here, I clicked on this line right here, the student's in driver's ed, and what it did is it told me he's got a C.
He or she.
Say that again?
He or she.
He or she has a C minus, and they're in 12th grade. And they are passing their class. That's why it says 100% he's passing. So I can get down to the individual student on that. This is where I see a little bit more of our problems. This is the weekly course grades. It gives 1 week leeway when we set this up. So it's not looking at last week, we're looking at 2 weeks ago and 3 weeks ago. We want to give the teacher some time to get those grades graded and put into the system. So I took this last week, which gives me Thanksgiving week, which is that first week you see all red. Nobody did grades there. It's a perfect example of what it looks like when our school's closed. The second week is the week after Thanksgiving, and you see about 20% of our teachers put in grades that week. 28% if you count that little grade section. So there's a problem with people putting in 2 grades a week. That's something my team is going to work on. And that's by one school. Okay.
As you're looking at these, you know, I mean, where it's obviously like it makes it a lot easier to like see stuff when you can see them visually like this. As you've been like looking at this and studying this over the last couple of weeks, like, is there anything that you've just been like, holy cow, I didn't know that, or that's something we want to really look at?
So what I've been finding, it's not really with the data sets, it's making sure it's actually talking to the system. One day I have all the elementaries reporting, and I only have 4,000 kids. I have to figure out where the other 5,000 kids went. And so I have to go see this student information system and look at what each cell has in it and figure out where the data is not coming out. That's where I've been finding the most difficulty. Once it comes out, what really has worried me that stood out is how many people aren't putting those 2 grades in a week. That would be my biggest concern right now from this data set. And so what I'm looking at this one, if you notice, that's the Thanksgiving week. Nobody put in any grades, but we go the next week for this school and they started putting in grades. You can see that green starting to go up. The next,
It's a tremendous management tool. I mean, because all this data is just so big, and so if you're able to see it, see it more, and be able to find correlations and things like that. I mean, this is a big management tool, and neat for parents to see this and be able to do things at home with their kids to, really move the needle.
absolutely know that your kids are getting grades in that system. That's one of the things I've worried about. I've never had a way to look in that system and be able to look at somebody's grade book and be able to see it. They're very protected on grade books. And so this way, it just pulls it right out. I know I don't have to go into the grade book and look. I know it's happening. And this is athletics eligibility. And what this really looks like is it looks at, I have every kid in the school, including elementary schools, if they're in elementary basketball, if they're after hours academy, I put them in containers. Every kid, and then their grades automatically go into those containers. And so based on the conditions I set up, they will, it'll let me know if they're at risk for not being eligible for their next sports.
Do our coaches and other extracurricular, sports coaches and extracurricular coaches, do they have access to this as well, to be able to like know ahead of time, like, hey, this kid needs some help?
They will be. So once it's all put together, we'll be able to give out individual access to their portion that's applicable to their job.
Just to their kids or whatever,
Mhm.
their team members or something. Interesting.
But mainly, it's a lot of data, and it's right now in our hands of our principals and our deans and our district level directors and coordinators. And so we're able to see it right now. And really what I have everybody testing is to make sure that it's actually correct data, to make sure it's actually pulling. And so far, I've been pretty happy with it within the last couple weeks. This is athletics eligibility by school. This would be just to show you one school, Navajo Pine, and they have boys basketball, girls basketball, but this would be the kids that anybody with a flag on it would be a student that they would need to have a conversation with before the end of the quarter. We need to do something. We need to intervene somehow to get these grades up so you're eligible next semester. The other pieces in here is you can sort. So anytime I click on any of these, the flags could be all the way spread throughout the document. When I click on that little flag button, that little arrow button, it puts them all at the top. And so I just pay attention to the ones I'm concerned about. And I take care of those students. The other pieces will be coming out. We are just finishing up our middle of year interim assessments, and those will be downloaded over the holiday and put into the system. So we'll be able to have you some data in there as well, coming in for our, and we just also released our state NMESA data, and so we should be able to give this to our partners as well and get that data put into the system. So giving us a much more clear picture of our students. One of the nice things that we had put on the dashboard, I'm on the live, so you just scroll down on this site, is a set of definitions. If any of my principals forget what each of these things mean, it has a set of definitions that tell you how we came up with the formulas. It has, so for the athletic eligibility, students will receive a warning flag for the following conditions: receiving a D or below in their current grades and not enrolled in at least 4 courses, and that's that's what would flag them for athletics. Are there any questions?
Board members, what questions do you have?
No, I just think this is a great tool for the schools. Yeah.
Mr. Mitchell, anything down there?
No.
Wade, since it's really like just us
Yes,
here,
sir.
can you look in my kids' grades so we can see how they're doing?
No, he can't. He can do it. That's not gonna happen.
Okay, all right. All right.
Not in a board meeting. Any other questions?
Thank you, Mr. Bell. This is another tool that we're trying to develop to help more instantaneously curb behavior, recognize students that need our attention so we can intervene as quickly as possible. Again, as Mr. Bell mentioned, that if you're trying to do this on your own, it takes a lot of querying and putting data together to get this type of information for a certain group of students or a school or a district. And so this is, again, just-in-time information for us to really continue to try to move the needle as we've been doing. And so thank you for, this came about because of our discussions from our Elevate 2025 planning. We've been working on this for about a year and developing it from scratch so that we get the exact kind of dashboard that we need as a school district to make decisions and to, again, move the needle. So thank you, Mr. Bell.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Our next presentation, I'm going to have Ms. Hanks come up, Deputy Superintendent Giovanna Hanks, talk a little bit about our legislative priorities for this next legislative session. The school board's a little bit double booked. We have a meeting this Wednesday, and so Ms. Hanks is going to present to our legislators the items that we're seeking from them in their dollars that they receive during the session to continue to help our students and to get materials and supplies and equipment that can help move the needle for our students. And so, Ms. Hanks, I'll turn the time over to you.
Members of the board, President Mortensen, Superintendent Hyatt, and members of the audience, and everybody watching online. This is a truncated presentation to what I will be providing to legislators, as you are very familiar with the initiatives of the district. But I always love a chance to show off some of our strategic plan documents as well as our graduate profile. We are very proud of these documents and the expectations we have for our students. So the 4 core areas that we're looking at with our graduate profile, and these aren't just our seniors, this is every student within the district should be building this portfolio of education as they move forward through the system. Creative thinking, critical thinkers, responsible individuals, effective collaborators, and lifelong learners. And so within that lens, what we looked at is, as we looked for our legislative proposals, we said, how can we most effectively move forward with one of our keystone projects, which is our career and technical education that we've been working on. And so our career pathway experiential simulators and auto center equipment is something that we're looking for. I've included in a copy of the PowerPoint presentation that I gave you a few documents that can help you as well. But one of the things I like to do is actually show items. So for 1.7, we are looking for 4 hydraulic excavators, 4 articulated trucks, 3 CDL simulators, 1 automotive center, and also mechatronics. And so I had to actually do a little bit more digging into what mechatronics was. And essentially, this is a field of study that combines both mechanics and electronics. And so when you think about things that are done on assembly lines or robotics or things that we kind of take for granted on a day-to-day basis as to how they work, how they're programmed, how they're coded. If you've ever been to the airport, you get the big arm that closes down on you and then the arm that lifts up. Well, there's someone behind that whole mechanism that has coded that. So it knows when your car comes, it knows when you've paid for your parking, it knows to release you from the parking garage. And so this is that type, but on a much larger scale. The simulators are very important for our students because it really gives students a sense of safety as they learn these very heavy equipment type machinery. It can be very, I would say, either anxiety inducing or intimidating with some of the pieces of heavy equipment. And so really allowing these students to become very familiar with them in a real life simulation type of way can really help more kids learn that this may be their path as they look to their future careers. So one of the CAT simulators that we are looking for, let me turn my sound on. is a dozer. I did not download that music. That is completely free of charge. So just kind of showing.
One question, these would only be dozer, I thought you looked at one,
No, they're for all the cat type equipment. So
Okay.
the controls are universal for different equipment, and as if you were sitting in that machine. So it could be a dozer, or
used for
it could be
any,
a backhoe, it could be an
That's what I wanted.
excavator, and then to get certified. I'm assuming you're gonna talk about that a little bit.
but you could be certified on any of their equipment.
Right.
That's all.
Yes, and that's an excellent question, because the 3D simulator that you see pictured here, you'll notice that the controls mimic what the student would actually see in a real-life piece of heavy equipment. It also has the motion, so students actually get used to, in the virtual simulation, they will see, the example on the video was actually taking down a tree or moving heavy rocks. They'll feel the resistance when they do the controls. And then you saw the report that came up. And what that report can tell the teacher in live time is, okay, the student is doing great with acceleration, but they're really having a hard time moving heavy objects. They're having a hard time navigating, maybe if they're in a trench or if they're too close to a trench. All of these types of things before they ever have to actually step foot in the equipment themselves. It really gets them prepared and comfortable and knowledgeable about how the equipment works. And so not only does that bolster the confidence of the student and give the teacher a lot of great information, it saves us a ton of money, because they're not using the actual equipment until they are really confident and ready to do so. And so it really minimizes a lot of risk within those programs. And as you mentioned, Mr. Schaaf, is that we are again looking for hydraulic excavators, dozers, articulated truck, 3D semi-truck. We are looking for an automotive center and the mechatronics. And one of the handouts that I actually gave you with the mechatronics, and I'm trying to stop saying megatronics, because for some unknown reason that keeps wanting to stick in my brain, is when you think about the multiple disciplines that are related to this, and what we're trying to buy is a Festo simulator machine that will help students learn coding and programming related to mechatronics. And I included in your packet, this presentation was given, this is a slide from a presentation that was given to the Legislative Education Study Committee in November. And it is showing the number of jobs that are tied to these types of activities, which is, anything from mechanical engineering, industrial engineering, computer engineering, any of those to these vacancies. The AI market right now is $11.4 billion. It is predicted to reach over $266 billion in 2027. There are over 400,000 technology jobs and only 71,000 college graduates. This is a huge market with more than living wage jobs that our kids could enter into. And there are critical gaps in what they call K-14 AI education. Because as you know, many of our students that are able to get certification may not have to go into a traditional four-year college. They may not have to seek out that kind of debt that they end up repaying with that kind of traditional four-year college education. And there is no one right way for a student, but there is a right path for the individual. And what I mean by that is four-year traditional college or more is great for some kids. Technical college is great for some kids. Certification and straight to employment is great for some kids. And we got to be sure that we have options for every one of those students. So that is the 1.7 that we are asking for, and that will serve up to 1,100 students and unknown community partnerships. So this is the community partnership with SWIFT. And so we do have some adult learners within that program who can also benefit from this equipment. And that's part of the community schools initiative that the district is participating in. The second item that we're asking for is the immersive educational technology elementary and middle school programs. So we demonstrated a floor version in this boardroom several months ago related to the immersive education. And what's really great about immersive education, and I actually included from the company that we're looking at, is one page from their promotional materials. And it's really looking at the holistic child development. And that means making sure the physical and motor, socio-cognitive, and academic are all being nurtured while in learning and lesson plans. And so for this, we're asking for $875,000. This would be for elementary and middle school interactive projectors in gym spaces. And it will be for educational programs that can be done in that immersive environment. Hopefully this one is not going to be as jazzy as the last.
I envision a world full of passion, of laughter, of learning. Each and every day, I engage thousands of children all around the world through immersive learning experiences. And now I bring this to a whole new level. Hi, I'm the new Lou. I have been completely redesigned for you to read better, to travel beyond books, and explore new spaces to learn, and for you to be engaged with all of your senses. This is my new heart. I'm right by your side, ready to push the limits even further. I'm easy to install, super flexible, and simple to use. I can now fit in a wider range of spaces. Together, let's open schools to new worlds.
And so on that technology, again, it is that 3D interactive technology has lots of educational applications. It does link the learning between physical education and other core subjects. And it also provides just a whole different way that students can engage in learning. When students are able to use more of their senses during that learning time, the more active they can be in the lesson plan. And so that's something that we're really looking for. The previous slide that we looked at, one of the things that we're thinking through is, as students approach high school, how do we get them more engaged, more thinking about what they like to do, what they'd like to do in their future, and how they want to kind of focus their program of study within K-12 education. So this is another way that students can get that interactive experience through computing, through different experiences to look at that. Our last and final is about $340,000, and this would give multiple STEM kits for elementary and middle school students in the Discovery Centers. And what these kits have inside of them are technology that helps with coding and different aspects of that nature, but it also helps to develop things like critical thinking, problem solving, teamwork, perseverance, decision-making, and other leadership skills. Because we want our students building that curiosity, building the curiosity about what the possibilities are and what they can explore as they make their way through the educational system. I have one last video. And for anyone who hasn't seen the Ozo bots in motion, these are really nifty tools. So the Ozo bots would just be one part of the kit, but these items help teach kids to begin learning circuitry, to begin learning coding, begin learning those essential things that as they continue to move through the system, they'll have curiosity about. They'll get to know what they're interested in. They'll see how math is applied, how spatial reasoning is applied, how different things can actually work in the real world. And so again, as a cornerstone of our strategic plan with a college and career readiness, this is going to be our legislative request for this year.
Thank you, Ms. Hanks.
Board members, any questions? Quick comment. I took my son down to Gallup High to try out some of these simulators that was there in the semi truck down there. I don't know what it was called, but my 8th grader got to go down there and drive around the excavator simulator and load some dump trucks and stuff like that. He did that for about 45 minutes. I couldn't hardly get him out of there. My question is on the stuff like that one specifically with the Caterpillar simulators and stuff like that. Is there any way for our kids to monetize that training? Like when they get out of school, does that simulator training count towards anything that they can go to work immediately in or anything like that?
Absolutely. We are working in each one of our pathways to ensure that students are graduating with industry recognized certificates. That way, when they go to the job market, they're not just presenting a piece of paper that says they did something. They're presenting something that is industry recognized and that industry will value. That is our primary goal. And that is why we have diversified those kind of capstone certificates between a couple of different entities, because different industries value different certificates more than others.
So I believe you can get certified. It's part of the certification to be able to be certified in running heavy machinery. So
Cool.
it's the same. This is CAT equipment. That's what they use to train. And so we would just be duplicating that at a younger level.
And right, correct. So NC3 is one, precision is another. And again, we're kind of targeting it based upon the industry and what the industry is valuing, because we don't just want to give them a piece of paper, we want to give them a very valuable piece of paper for them in their futures. And you had mentioned the Be Pro, Be Proud, I believe is the name of the truck.
Yeah.
And we love that. We love that the state is offering that, but it does just show the reality that that truck is probably not going to be back for an extended period of time, and only a limited number of students would have been able to interact with that, which we tried to get as many students as possible. The reality is our students need it kind of every day so that they can really take advantage of it and compete when they graduate in not just a local market, but a global market.
I told them they needed like 1 or 2 or 25 more of those trucks. They need more. No, that I think, if our teachers and our instructors get in there and they're, and our counselors are able to use their imagination and move forward. I mean, this is really a way, like with those simulators and stuff. I mean, that's a way that we can really like market our students, into industry and get them going right away professionally. Especially if these are like a nationally recognized, certification or whatever through Caterpillar. I mean, there's got to be, hundreds of opportunities across the country for these kids after they receive these certifications.
Absolutely. We would also invite you, we actually have a pilot program at Jefferson Elementary using the STEM centers, STEM kits that you saw. What we can do is we can get some dates set of when those students are going to be in the lab, and we would love for you to come down and see students interact with the STEM kits.
That'd be awesome.
Maybe we should video it. We can share that with the legislators too at some point. But you will quickly see how valuable this is for our students. The hands-on activities, how they have to use their brains differently rather than just sitting at a desk and paper and pencil. It's pretty incredible to see our students learn this way.
One more question on the simulators. It'll be at the VOTEC school that's going to be built, or will it just be, until we build it, it'll be at different schools?
It'll be, high schools will be able to use it, whether we're locating them at certain locations or we're bringing them to a central location to use it. But in the end, they would primarily be housed at a new tech center.
Okay. And then you had mentioned at one point that at the tech center, it would be open for adults too in the evening, so they would be able to use this too if they wanted to.
Yeah, we've been working with a lot of partners, and Ms. Hanks talked about the community schools grant that we've got. So what we're trying to do is, as a community partner, is to not only help our students develop skills so that they're more prepared for the workforce, but we're also looking at adult ed to be a partner with them. We also are looking. We even have some potential private school partners that we've partnered with that students would actually potentially come over to participate in our pathways that are offered in that location. And so, yeah, we're trying to make it as beneficial to the community as possible. And even the college, we've been working with the college a bit. There's a high possibility that they would want to use it at night for classes, because this is not just going to be a building with four walls. It's going to have significant technology and advantages for our students and our community to be a part of to help people go into the workforce more easily.
And I can only echo that sentiment. We all know that resources are scarce, so the more that we can maximize the resources that we have, the better it is for all of our communities.
Thank you, Giovanna.
Thank you, Ms. Hanks. That concludes the presentation for today. Board members?
Thank you, Mr. Hyatt. I'd like to draw everybody's attention to the notices communications with the important dates over the next couple of months when our board meetings are, and there's winter break and other times when there's no school. Board members, the next item on the agenda is the executive session. I have a motion.
Motion to exit meeting and go into executive session.
Second.
Second, roll call, please, Joe.
Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
Mr. Shaw,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Mortensen.
Yes.
2:42.
All right, we'll go into executive session. All right, we're back. I will entertain a motion to return to the regular session of our board meeting.
So moved.
All right, and there's a second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
Mr. Shaw,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Mortensen.
Yes.
3:13.
All right, quick report on our executive session. We discussed the things that were laid out. It's long in the agenda, and no decisions were made or no votes were taken in executive session. So we'll move from executive session. Now that we're back, we'll move into new business. And let's go to item 7A. Looks like that's to approve to authorize a change in legal counsel in the Yazzie Martinez case and recover client file from the previous counsel. Do I have a motion?
I do.
Okay.
Second.
Second by Mr. Schaaf. Roll call, please.
Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
Mr. Shaw,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Mortensen.
Yes. Next two items, I guess, B and C, on this thing. Mr. Hyatt, can you just run this down for us a little bit more for those watching online to understand exactly what this is?
Sure. President Mortensen, members of the board, really actions 7B and 7D are to waive the multiple readings that typically take place when reviewing board policy or changing board policy or potentially changing board policy. And so that's what those two items are. But obviously they have to do with 7C and E, which are two changes to policy. The first change has to do with NMAA activities and students that do not live in our area in McKinley County. Obviously, students living in whatever part of the state aren't eligible, or according to our rules, internally to participate in our sports because they live so far away. This policy simply just puts that and codifies it in board policy so that students not living in our area who are online virtual students, while they'll be able to participate in their home area because they'll be enrolled in Gallup Central High School as an alternative school, they will not be able to participate in our school. And mainly the purpose of this is as other districts have done the same with respect to NMAA number counts for classifications. And so this just simply, as a school board, does the same thing as those school boards did, which is to just let the NMA know that these students absolutely are not allowed to play and shouldn't be counted in our classification numbers. And so that's what 7C has to do with. And so it's just an additional change in that policy to state what I briefed you on. And I'll just talk about 7E while I'm talking. That simply has to do with just clarifying in the assessment system and grading portion of our board policy that need, as been understood, that teachers are putting in 2 grades per week for students so that families have some level of understanding of where that grade is for those students as it accumulates throughout the semester, not throughout the quarter, and then in some cases throughout the year. And so I just wanted to make sure that you understood that. It's only a 2-word change for that particular board policy. So again, it's just a clarification.
Thank you, Mr. Hyatt. Any questions, board members? Are we ready to vote?
Yes.
Motion to approve waiver of subsequent readings of amendments for policy J-4550JJJ, extracurricular activity eligibility.
All right, there's a motion. Second, anybody?
Second.
Mr. Mitchell, roll call, please.
Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
Mr. Shaw,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Mortensen.
Yes.
And can I just make a clarification? Those students can still participate in sports.
Yes.
It's just not in the county. So they'll be able to participate at their home high school, whatever boundaries they currently reside in. Just want to make that clarification.
Right, and these are mainly homeschool kids is what we're talking about.
Online.
Online.
Online and in Destinations Career Academy. So.
Okay. All right, next one, 7C. I will entertain a motion to approve amendments to policy J-4550JJJ, extracurricular activity eligibility.
Motion.
All right, and second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Schaaf. Roll call, please.
Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
Mr. Shaw,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Mortensen.
Yes. Next one, I'll entertain a motion to approve item 7D, approve waiver of subsequent readings of amendments for policy I-6711 IKA-R-grading assessment system.
So moved.
All right, and a second, anybody?
Second.
All right, he beat you, Mr. Mitchell. Go ahead, second by Mr. Long. Roll call, please, Joan.
Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
Mr. Shaw,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Mortensen.
Yes. All right, Mr. Mitchell, here's your chance. Item 7E, approve amendments to policy I-6711 IKA-R-grading assessment systems.
Motion to approve.
All right, and a second
Second.
by Mr. Schaaf. Roll call, please, Joan.
Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
Mr. Shaw,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Mortensen.
Yes. If there's no further questions or anything, then I will entertain a motion to adjourn and also wish everybody a Merry Christmas, and we'll see you in a couple weeks.
Motion to adjourn.
All right, and a second
Second.
by Mr. Mitchell. Roll call, please.
Mr. Mitchell,
Yes.
Mr. Shaw,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Mr. Mortensen.
Yes.